Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to the House Local Government Committee meeting that has been scheduled for today. We will start by a call of the roll. Christina?
Chairman Freeman,
Here.
Representatives Borowski,
I believe she's anticipated, but we can vote her by designation.
Rep. Donahue,
Designation?
Fleming,
Designation?
Haddock, Hambidge,
Designation?
Kazim,
Designation?
Madsen,
Designation?
Monroe, Probst, Prokopiak,
Designation?
Salisbury,
Designation?
Sappy, Smith Waddell,
Designation.
Chair Miller,
Here.
Representatives Banta, Cooper, Fink,
Designation.
Jones,
Here.
Kozak,
Designation.
Kuzma,
Designation.
Reichard,
Designation.
Rincabbage,
Designation.
Watro,
Designation.
Weakneck, Wentling.
Quorum being present, we can proceed. We'll start our meeting, of course, with the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll call on Chairman Miller to please lead us. Please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chairman Miller. Okay. We will now proceed with the legislation we have before us today for our committee business. We're going to change the order somewhat because one of the prime sponsors is present, and we'd love to give the courtesy to Senator Dush to be able to speak on his bill before he has to run off to another meeting. So with that, I will call up Senate Bill 764 and call upon the senator if he wishes to make some comments.
Chairman Freeman, Chairman Miller, it's been a long time since I've participated in anything in this building, or in this room rather, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak on the bill as well as for all of you considering it today. Senate Bill 764 was part of my old district. The city of DuBois and Sandy Township were consolidating, and there ended up being a major corruption situation that occurred that entailed some financial interests on the part of the city. The township supervisors at the time were concerned about the consolidation and what that would cost the people in their municipality. The election had already occurred where the both municipalities had agreed to take part in it, but there was no way for them to withdraw from it. Fortunately, they're no longer in my district, but they managed to get some good people elected, and they have been able to work that out. But the fact that it was such a situation had occurred, and there being no recourse for a municipality that finds itself in that kind of a situation, I wanted to continue with the bill. And I think for future consolidations, and I think with the way that the climate is in Pennsylvania, we are going to see municipal consolidations. And I think this is important to have the ability for those municipalities that find themselves in a situation they weren't aware of to have the ability to withdraw. I understand there's an amendment, and I'm agreeing to the amendment. I appreciate the.
Thank you for your overview of the bill. Mr. Schaefer, do you have any other comments you'd like to make on the legislation before we proceed to the amendment?
Yes, Senate Bill 764, sponsored by Senator Dush, provides a mechanism by which municipalities participating in a merger and consolidation can petition a court for a suspension of that merger in the event that they discover alleged or apparent fraud after the referendum has taken place. Just for reference, this bill has passed the Senate unanimously and is supported by the township supervisors and the boroughs.
Thank you very much. Before we proceed with the bill in chief, there is an amendment, a technical amendment that I'll be offering, Amendment A02149, and I'd like to call on Mr. Castelli. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the Cerisi bill. I apologize. It is Amendment A02157. So I will offer that amendment and ask Mr. Castelli to please give an overview.
Okay, the amendment would simply change the date by which the provisions of the bill would be effective. So it would be effective for any referendums, merger or consolidation referendums approved after the effective date of the act, going prospectively, whereas the bill had stated that it would be effective on any merger or consolidation referendums effective after November the 1st, 2021.
Okay. And this amendment was put together after conversations with Chairman Miller to give more clarity to when we should consider this a process to begin. With that, is there any questions on the amendment? Seeing none, voice vote, okay? We'll take a voice vote. All those in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any negatives? The voice vote carries unanimously, and the amendment will become part of the bill. This now brings us to the bill in chief. Are there any questions on the bill in chief of the members? Okay, seeing none, we will proceed then to a vote. Voice vote, okay? Yes. Voice vote. All those in favor of the bill, Senate Bill 764, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The bill will be reported unanimously to the full House. Congratulations, Senator. Thank you for being here. We'll next return to the order of our agenda for today, and that brings us to House Bill 1664, sponsored by Chairman Cerisi. And we will ask him for a brief overview. I'll call up the bill, but a brief overview of his bill. We do have an amendment which does change some of it, which we'll take up. Do you want to take that up now? Or?
We could.
Okay, before you begin, we'll probably take up the amendment.
Give a summary first and then have him talk.
Sure, we'll call on Mr. Castelli to give a summary of the bill and the amendment that'll be offered, and then we'll turn to Chairman Cerisi.
Okay, Amendment A02149, offered by Chairman Freeman. This is a technical amendment. It will remove all of the, where the term historic or historic character appears in the bill, as well as the definition for historic character, as they are unneeded. As far as the bill, should we take the vote on the amendment?
We can, if you're comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions regarding the amendment? Seeing none, we'll take a voice vote. I'm sorry, Chairman Miller, you have a question.
Well, I don't have a question. I just have a comment. Unfortunately, this amendment will dramatically change the content of the bill and the context of the bill, and so for that reason, I would urge a no vote.
Sure, Representative Haddock.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I refer to the maker of the bill. Does the maker of the bill support the said amendment?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, out of clarification too, John, did you want to follow up as far as clarification?
Yeah, the bill, these references we're taking out were left over from the version from last session, when there was a requirement that the applicants for the buildings have to have historic character. Now the bill is broader. It's only applying to older buildings over 50 years of age. So those references were not needed, and the definition was not needed.
And I think by broadening it to older buildings in general, we have a better chance of providing support to those structures that need to be given some money, grant money, to be able to revitalize them. Did you have any follow-up comments? Nope. Okay. With that, is there any questions or comments regarding the amendment? Seeing none, I guess we'll take a roll call. Yes. Roll call on the amendment, please. And I'm offering the amendment. Just
Chairman Freeman?
Yes.
Representatives Borowski? Donahue?
Designation, yes.
Fleming?
Designation, yes.
Haddock? Yes. Hambidge?
Designation, yes.
Kazim?
Designation, yes.
Madsen?
Designation, yes.
Monroe? Yes. Probst? Yes. Prokopiak?
Designation, yes.
Salisbury?
Designation, yes.
Sappy? Yes. Smith-Waddell?
Designation, yes.
Chair Miller?
No.
Representatives Banta? No. Cooper? No. Fink?
Designation no.
Jones?
No.
Kozak? Kuzma.
Designation no.
Reichard.
Designation no.
Rincavic.
Designation no.
Quattro.
Designation no.
Weakneck. No. Wentling. 1412. 1412.
A brief overview of the bill in chief, House Bill 1664.
Okay, House Bill 1664, Representative Reese's, as was just amended, would establish the Older Building Redevelopment Assistance Grant Program as a 2-year pilot program administered by the Department of Community and Economic Development. The purpose of the program shall be to issue grants to eligible developers of property or property owners for the redevelopment, rehabilitation, or enhancement of older buildings across the Commonwealth. And the definition of older building contained in the bill states that it's a building located within this Commonwealth that is at least 50 years old. Under the program, grants shall be for amounts no less than $50,000 and no more than $500,000, or an amount equal to 30% of the total project cost, whichever is less, subject to the availability of funding. And the projects must be completed no later than 2 years after the date of the grant. However, the department may grant an extension for an additional period of up to 6 months. And the department may recapture all or a portion of the grant awarded if the project is not completed timely. An applicant for a grant must prepare a redevelopment plan, which at a minimum shall, 1, establish the project use as commercial, industrial, transportation, or multifamily residential. 2, involve at least one of the following primary activities: mechanical improvements, electrical improvements, plumbing improvements, building egress or accessibility improvements. And finally, must identify the economic impact on the improved area, the surrounding neighborhood, and the municipality in which it is located. The bill also establishes the Older Building Redevelopment Fund as a non-lapsing fund within the state treasury, and money in the fund shall be appropriated to the department on a continuing basis for the purpose of awarding grants in accordance with the Act. 3% of funds appropriated by the legislature shall be provided to the department to cover the administrative expenses of the program. In addition to funds appropriated by the General Assembly, the department may also accept alternative funding, including federal funds, grants, and donations from any source consistent with the goals of the Act, and all such monies received by the department shall be deposited into the fund as well. Any money in the fund that is unexpended, unencumbered, or uncommitted 2 years after the effective date of this section shall be returned to the general fund. The department's grant-making authority would expire 2 years from the effective date of the Act. And following the expiration of the grant-making authority, the department would be required to submit a report to the General Assembly to reflect expenditures from the fund and economic development progress made as a result of the program throughout the Commonwealth, including the number and types of projects, and recommendations for the continuation or expansion of the program would be also included. And finally, DCED would be required to develop guidelines necessary to implement the Act.
Thank you for that overview. I think we recorded that I'm making the motion to bring the bill, report the bills committed. Okay. With that, we'll turn to the prime sponsor for comments, and then we'll turn to the members if they have comments or questions.
Thank you, Chairman Freeman, Chairman Miller, and to the whole committee. Today I come before you with a bill that we look at across the Commonwealth and say that we have older buildings everywhere that are sitting empty, and revitalization is important to bring back the economy in some of these communities. And whether we're talking about the western part of our state, whether it's Erie or the Pittsburgh area or Lucerne or Lawrence County or Adams County, it's the same no matter where we are. We want to revitalize. This gives an opportunity for people to buy properties and revitalize them and bring back some of our smaller communities. Because if you buy a building that needs HVAC or an elevator or fire suppression, we're talking a lot of money. This helps you get through that. And the parameters that are put on this also helps us recoup what isn't used if it's not used. I would look for your support. And like I said, in no matter what areas are, I could think of just in the community that I live in or I represent, there must be 10 old buildings that need this, that people want to be able to buy, but maybe can't do all the expenses and all the revitalization. I sit on a board in a building that needs a new elevator, which is going to be at least $200,000. And we're still going, we don't know if we're going to be able to do this. So what do? Do we shut down the building and now it's one less business or one less entity in the downtown area that closes? Now we have another problem. This really helps us. And a 50-year-old building, I can't believe I'm going to say this, it's 5 years younger than me, but think about that. A building that was built in 1975, to be able to go in there and see what it needs. It's going to need a new fire system. It's probably going to need a new elevator. It's going to need upgrades to electricity. It's going to need upgrades to plumbing. This is helping that. So I would hope that I'd have your support, and thank you for the opportunity to be able to speak here today.
Thank the gentleman. Thank you for the proposal of your legislation. Are there any questions or comments? Chairman Miller, did you have any?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Thank you for bringing forward this bill. I understand the concept. I want to go back to the amendment. The bill which you offered last year was the historic, I can't remember the official name, but dealt with historic properties. And that at least was a limited number of properties because they had historic value. This, as you know, that amendment takes that out and just makes it an older building, anything that's 50 years or older, which that's a lot of homes. So at least previously it was limited. Now it's basically unlimited. And I think a number of us live in homes that are older than 50 years that technically could apply, potentially, depending on where they are. So I have a problem with that. Secondly, the number of homes to which this would apply, and it does not specify in the bill that they need to be empty. They could be occupied now, whether an established business or so it truly is a high number of businesses, and it leaves the decision solely up to the DCED without necessarily a lot of input from a local municipality. For instance, Lancaster County, you would want to have probably the commissioners involved, with township supervisors involved in some sort of committee, and not just the economic, the EDC of a particular county, but someone else too that I think needs to be involved. There's nothing in the bill related to this. The other problem I have is that this bill designates 3% towards administrative costs, and we had talked a bit about this last time, which is way out of the pale beyond what other agencies would require based on the record that we had before, that it's about 1% for administrative costs. So for these reasons and others which I could highlight, I'm going to recommend a no vote, although I understand the reason for the bill, want to help our older buildings, but 50 years is not really, I think by most measures, considered old. So I would urge a no vote. Thank you.
I thank the gentleman for his comments. In terms of the administrative cost, it was brought to our attention that DCED would have to hire 2 people to administer the program. So that was the reasoning behind the 3%, to be able to administer the program. In terms of the older aspect to the building, I appreciate the gentleman's comments about historic structures. Some older buildings are, as the prime sponsor has indicated, in desperate need of revitalization. And many of them, particularly since the bill deals oftentimes with multi-purpose buildings that can be apartments above a commercial entity as a good example, many of those are in some cases anchors to a downtown neighborhood. And if they can't be fixed, they're going to spread blight through the downtown, which is not to the benefit of the stability of that downtown community. So I think the 50-year is very common in terms of a general understanding of what the preservation community sees as a sufficient timeline to provide funding to help older structures. And I would urge a yes vote, but the gentleman, the prime sponsor, wishes to make some comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And to Chairman Miller's point, I mean, I'm open to the idea of the municipality being able to have a say. But I think that when we look at, yes, it is broader. So we have more people have an opportunity to do this. Because I have a downtown, the buildings were built in the 80s that are decrepit. They're falling apart. There's no way you're going to be able to go in there and take this building without doing every one of these things. And we're not talking about a house. We're talking about a multi-family structure. But we're talking about buildings. These are our downtowns. We're not talking about party-related either. This could be anywhere in the Commonwealth. But shouldn't this be a broader subject, that we're allowing more businesses to have an opportunity to revitalize our downtowns or our communities? If you want to put a restriction in that says that the municipality has say, I'm 100% for it. That's fine by me. I don't care about that. What I care about is we have the opportunity to give these grants, to see revitalization the right way. So if someone comes to us and says, look, I need a new fire suppression system, and I don't have the money, well, now it helps our local fire department. And we help this building stay open. Otherwise, the building closes, and maybe we displace 35 people who had a job that no longer do because they couldn't afford to revitalize that building. So while I understand 50 years may not be old, I'm glad to hear that because I'm 55, so that's wonderful. I don't feel that way, but it's great. 50 years to a structure is old. We have a structure in Philadelphia that's about to celebrate 25 years, which is the Performing Arts Center, that needs $140 million worth of upgrades. It depends on the building. It depends on what the use of the building is. And again, if there's a restriction of that caliber that will help to get you to a yes and on the floor to a yes, to let the municipalities be part of it or the county, I'm with you on that. That's the least of it. What I want to see is the opportunity for these people to be able to do the upgrades to see these buildings stay online and stay in business. Thank you again.
Yeah, and just to clarify the point and to reinforce what the gentleman has said, the Pennsylvania Historic and Museum Commission says that 50 is more common and in general understood as an older building for preservation community purposes. So again, the aim here is preservation and revitalization, and we feel that the language that was added will broaden that to include a lot more buildings in need in that regard as well. A couple of members had questions or points. Representative Borowski.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Chair Cerisi, for this legislation. So I've never seen communities rally harder when it is to save, whether it's historic or older buildings and things that have meaning to the communities. And for those communities that have main streets and have little, downtowns and places where the community is, like you find the community. We have Wayne, I have Newtown Square, so we have a lot of areas like that. I can think of a building right down the street from my office that used to house our fire company, where they used to live, the firefighters used to live. It's decrepit, it's falling down, but people would love to save it if they could. So I think that this provides opportunity for people. To the question of municipalities and counties being involved, nothing in this bill that I can see precludes them having to go through still all of what they would need to do with permitting and things like that through their local municipality, if there's anything through the county, I guess. So I guess I'm confused as to why that would be an issue. It's not like they can, shroud the building and do the work and not tell the municipality, and the municipality wouldn't be involved in whatever needs to happen there, whether it's permitting or land development or whatever. So I think that this is a really excellent opportunity for people to be able to tap into some funding, areas that don't normally have that access. So I will be a yes vote on this legislation, and I want to thank you for putting it forward.
I thank the lady. Representative Probst had a question or a point.
Well, I'm with you about the 50 and older. Kind of makes me sad. Being from, living in a historic town, funny enough, the 150-year-old buildings are built better than the ones that were built in the 70s and 80s. And I don't know if you all feel that way in the Commonwealth, but a strong wind could, they reduce the materials, the regulations, and there's some chintzy buildings out there. Our courthouse is one of them. We just had a $100 million expansion. The original one from the mid-1800s is solid. The one that was built in the 1979, I mean, I wish they would have just tore the whole thing down because it was built like garbage. And now anyway, my concern is I'm not too much worried about what Chair Miller had said about the municipalities, because if you're in a historic district and you have a historical architectural review board as part of your community, the minute you file for a permit, you've got to hit the municipality in order to do any type of upgrade like that. So I'm not so much worried about that. My question is the order. How are they going to determine how are they going to determine who gets what? So I think about, there's a ton of great developers in my area. They kind of buy up everything and they just and they're great. They revitalize, but they buy up everything. And then you've got people that maybe own the building and they can't afford it, and maybe they're the ones that actually need that $50,000 help to get that building in order, where there's so many ones that already have the money and are buying up everything, to think that they could also get the money before somebody that truthfully is on the cusp of, hey, this is a multifamily house, it's generational, I would love to upgrade it, I can't afford it, but I didn't get this grant because I've got a really big developer over here that has grant writers and everything else, and they're just getting all the money. So how do we make the determination of who gets it? Because you and I both know we're not grant writers and it costs money. So you're going to have people that really need this that aren't going to be able to utilize it.
I think the best way to look at that is we all know from being legislators the process it goes through when we ask for grants and we look for stuff for our community, how we support a project. So through DCED, first of all, is going to look at the economic impact of the project and how it will impact it, like everything else that goes through DCED. But it's also the support that they get from not only the representatives, from the senators, and then from the community. So if that is a project, a big builder, we all could see through that. When a big builder comes to one of us and says, oh, I need $2 million, and there's that mom and pop that you know is going to really revitalize the downtown, who are we supporting? We're supporting the one that's really going to revitalize the downtown. And I think it behooves us to understand the projects that are going for this type of funding, to give the letter of support for these projects, and that weighs in on DCED's decision of the project itself.
Right. So I think what I'm getting at is that maybe, as much as I know you have to go through municipalities anyway to get permits, this could go for anyone. It could go for someone that owns a multifamily dwelling. It could go towards the municipality that wants to renovate their jail from 1871, you know? So I just want to make sure that the people you were just talking about know that this exists, and they're not going to. They don't have grant writers. They're just everyday people that could use this help. So I almost feel like on top of it, when this bill passes, we need somehow to get municipalities to make sure they put it in their newsletters and things like that to let everyday people know that these exist for them. That's my only concern, is that the ones that really, really need it and could use it, I could do all the outreach possible, and they're not going to know about it, but the developers will.
Well, and I think that that's true of everything that we do as legislators, to let our communities know when a grant comes up. We all get those grants daily sometimes, the new grants that come out, and you know who's doing what. Also in your newsletters, your emails, whatever you put out as a legislative office, and the local press. We can only do so much other than knock on every single door in our district and say, hey, look at the new program we got today. And even when you do that, people say, well, I didn't know about it. You literally went at their door, and they still say, no one informed me of that. So yes, I think we should be able to get to everyone we can, but I think every one of us in this room could identify 4 or 5 places right now that would benefit from this grant that we'd be able to call up and say, hey, apply for this, and we'll give you a letter of support.
I think you'll find too, at least in the case of my hometown of Easton, they have a very aggressive economic development department that looks at properties that are critical to the health and stability of the downtown. They approach the owners of those buildings and are very cooperative in trying to make sure that they get the attention they need to be able to preserve the building. So some of it's proactive from the municipality as well. And the lady's point was well taken about, oh, I understand, yeah. But your point was well taken about architecture too. In many respects, buildings that are 50 years old are oftentimes more in need of preservation and revitalization work than a historic structure, because they weren't built as solid, weren't built as well as they were 100 years ago. There was a movement in architecture and design after World War II to create planned obsolescence, where buildings were never meant to last forever. Prior to that, when you built a building, it was meant to last forever as long as you maintained it. So there is a big difference in terms of the quality of architecture, and this gets to that point to a great extent as well. Representative Sappi, you had some points.
Thank you, Chairman. And I support this because I see the economic development aspect of this every single day, especially when I'm coming off the turnpike, coming home from Harrisburg, coming down through Downingtown. And to Prope's point, you can see who the big project folks are right away. And I'm seeing this transformation now of large former warehouses, small or, larger businesses turning into distilleries and breweries and restaurants. But there's still, you go further down the road, and that old Main Street feeling, these beautiful old buildings, and some of them have been, what do we call them, remodeled? They're in need of rehab to go with the stuff that's getting done, the bigger stuff that's getting done, to revitalize the entire community. And they're bringing in jobs. These are close to the turnpike and major arteries, so you're revitalizing a whole community. Housing will come in after that. And I think this is just a really important program. And I really do believe it will be competitive. I don't think we're aiming here to revitalize every building in Pennsylvania that's over 50 years old. It's going to be competitive. And I think we're going to identify and spread the word that these smaller Main Street businesses and buildings are the ones that we really want to support, because they add on to the larger scope that's happening. So I think this is a wonderful idea. I supported it last term when it was just historic and older, and I still support it for these reasons.
Thank you for your comments. Representative Haddock, you had a question or a point?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair. As a former mayor of Avoca, and when I served, the town was ironically about 125 years old. The borough and many of our buildings were older than the town. The borough did not have the wherewithal, being a 1 square mile small town in northeastern Pennsylvania, to look at and go through the process of designating an historic site. So this bill, by eliminating, and I supported it last year, by eliminating the historic part of this, we are actually cutting bureaucracy and we are cutting red tape for our boroughs. And we hear in Harrisburg all the time, let's cut the red tape and let's make government work for its people. The definition of historic, if you were to Google it, when it comes to these buildings, is 50 years old. If you do go through the court process and you go through the red tape, a building that's 50 years old does qualify as historic. So that point is moot. The fee structure is for administrative costs that the state actually uses, 3%. Many of the grant programs in Pennsylvania have a 10% administrative fee. I don't think the 3 is that out of line. I gladly support this bill. I think for the right reasons, we should make government easier to work and work on behalf of our boroughs and our people that are doing economic development. I thank the maker of the bill.
Thank the gentleman for his comments. Are there any other questions or comments to be made by the members? Seeing none, we'll move.
If I could.
Oh, Chairman Miller.
Thank you. Just one point of clarification concerning my comments about a local municipality weighing in on the project. It had nothing to do with whether there was the project met the ordinances or the building code. Any of that had more to do with input from the county. So, for instance, in Lancaster County, there might be 10,000 homes that qualify for 50 years older or older. And it seems to me the local people would be better situated to decide which of those, if they had 100 applications in Lancaster County alone, and we multiply that out across 67 counties, there are, I'm not sure how many would qualify. Someone in Harrisburg making that decision, I don't know is the best approach, is what I was saying, not the local ordinances and building codes and that sort of thing. Those people would definitely be involved. I just wanted to add that clarification. Thank you.
I appreciate the gentleman's comments. Just another point of clarification. The legislation, as I understand it, would be established for projects to use for commercial, industrial, transportation, or multifamily residential. So we're not talking about individuals.
No, not individual homes at all.
Yeah.
Multifamily homes.
And again, this kind of multi-use, mixed-use building oftentimes can be a very important anchor within a downtown.
And I think to the chairman's point is Like I said, if the county wants to weigh in, if we want to make that part of the recommendation to DCED from the county or the municipality, I'm all in favor. I mean, if that's what it's going to take to get a bill across bipartisan that's going to help our communities, it doesn't hurt any one of us to say that. I don't want to see the bill held back, and if that would make you more comfortable, Mr. Chairman, I'm with you 100%. To do a floor amendment, I'd agree 100% that you must have support of the county or your municipality for the project. Fine by me. I mean, I know my municipalities would come out and support these projects. And you're right, there will be a lot, but we don't have single-family homes. Otherwise, this would be unattainable bill to even work within.
And yeah, I would also note that DCED does look at letters of support from legislators, from county government, from municipal governments to show that it has a basis of support that makes it possible to get the grant in the first place. So that process does exist within DCED. And Mr. Castelli had pointed out to me as well that this is a pilot program. It's going to go for 2 years, which gives us as a legislative body a chance to see how effective it is and whether there's tweaks needed to the program and the concept. So we'll probably get a chance to revisit it at some point as well. Representative Probst, you had a follow-up?
Yep, I have just one more follow-up. With this pilot program, I guess one only concern, and it's nothing to do with this bill, but when there are permits issued, it goes right to the municipality, which goes to the county, and the taxes. I mean, you know, in Stroudsburg, if you get a mini split, you can count on $2,000 more a year on your county taxes, it's kind of ridiculous. I know every municipality is different in this Commonwealth and 500 school districts. So the only other thing that I think is important when we talk about this is your building that you might be paying $20,000 a year on taxes. The minute you do those upgrades, it could be $40,000 a year in taxes. And I think that is a component that really needs to be put, so I guess to calm the fears of Chair Miller, not everybody's going to do this because they know what's going to happen with their taxes if they do upgrade their multifamily housing or, so not everyone's going to jump on this because they're not going to be able to afford the taxes. So I think that the players that can, I think it's going to even dwindle it down more, is my point.
And it gets to the point of our need to, at some point, address assessment reform, too, how we go about assessing properties and the impacts. Are there any other questions or points before we move to a vote? Seeing none, we'll call for a roll call.
Chairman Freeman.
Yes.
Representatives Borowski, Donahue,
By designation, yes.
Fleming,
By designation, yes.
Haddock. Yes. Hambidge,
Designation, yes.
Kazim,
Designation, yes.
Madsen,
Designation, yes.
Monroe. Yes. Probst. Yes. Prokopiak,
Designation, yes.
Salisbury,
Designation, yes.
Sappy. Yes. Smith Waddell.
Designation, yes.
Chairman Miller.
No.
Representatives Banta. No. Cooper. No. Fink.
Designation no.
Jones.
Designation no.
Kozak. Kuzma.
Designation no.
Reichard.
Designation no.
Rincavic.
Designation no.
Watro.
Designation no.
Weakneck. No. Wentling. 1412.
The vote is 14-12. The bill will be reported to the floor for consideration. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
In the interest of time, I'd like to call up the folks from the Local Government Commission. The next two bills are Local Government Commission bills, and I guess we're going to have to do the overviews and stuff. Yeah. So we'll start with Chairman Miller's bill. I'll call that up for consideration. That is House Bill 1777. And Chris Gazy is here to give an overview as well as answer any questions pertaining to it.
Sure. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Chairman Miller. Thank you for the invitation to speak on House Bill 1777. This bill is it's sort of revisiting one of the key things from the pandemic. When the initial emergencies were declared, one of the first acts of the General Assembly was Act 15 of 2020, which put in place the special meeting rules that municipalities could utilize to hold meetings entirely remotely during the pandemic. As the emergency acts expired, as the emergencies expired, one piece of language that is vestigial is that in Title 35, in the emergency authorization generally, there is now language that says that municipalities may be excused from establishing an in-person quorum in the case of a declared state or local emergency. In the opinion of the commission, this is more broad than the ultimate goal for establishing meeting rules. And so we looked to some existing language in Title 53, Chapter 11, which is some existing law about dealing with emergency succession of officers and emergency meetings during the time where we thought an emergency might be an enemy attack during the Cold War. And so this is a rewrite of that language establishing the conditions under which a municipality might deal with emergency succession of officers, might deal with the temporary relocation of a meeting place outside of the municipality for whatever reason or outside of the municipal building, and also the use of remote meetings without an in-person quorum requirement. And this language has been sort of a long discussed arrival at a set of rules that essentially, if you're going to need to utilize a meeting without an in-person quorum, you need to have good reason to do so and for a limited period of time. And if you need to move your meeting out of your municipality for any reason, again, the time is limited. And then if your building is not available, essentially laying out where else you can hold your meeting. So I hope that is a good overview for now.
Yes, very good. Thank you. Mr. Schaefer, did you have anything to add to it?
No, I think Mr. Gatsby covered it.
Okay. With that, are there any questions or comments of the members regarding the legislation? Seeing none, we'll proceed to a vote. Did you want to do a voice vote or a roll call? We'll do a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The bill is, oh, I'm sorry, I skipped a motion to report the bill by Chairman Miller. So all those in favor of the bill signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The bill will be reported unanimously to the floor for consideration. Which brings us to the next bill, which I'll call up, which is House Bill 1836, of which I am the prime sponsor. It is a commission bill, and I'll call on Mr. Gazy to please give us an overview.
All right. Well, thank you once again for the invitation to speak on this, and I appreciate you printing out this bad boy. I actually don't have a printed copy myself on my desk. This is the last step in a long effort to modernize the first-class township code. As you may recall, in 2020, the General Assembly considered a series of modernizations in the language of first-class township code, essentially going chapter by chapter to determine what should be updated comprehensively. No effort to do so had been engaged in over 75 years. Now, we always do this in a two-step process. The first being that we do those editorial and update amendments in the existing unconsolidated bill so that when the members receive the language at that time, they get to see all of the individual underlines and changes line by line. Then after the first bill passes, we go back and work with the Legislative Reference Bureau and say, okay, it's the goal of the legislature, as instructed by the '68 Constitution, to move all of these unconsolidated statutes into the consolidated statutes. Let's put together a consolidation bill. And we work with them on that text. Looks like all of this text is new, but in fact, very, very little is. The vast majority of this is just standardizing the language to the consolidated statutes format, and then there are a very small number of substantive changes that are incorporated in this bill. If you look at either the bill analysis or the Local Government Commission summary. They all highlight those items, and they are all clearly defined in the enacting language at the end of the bill. Essentially, the enacting language says none of this is new except for the following things, which I'll touch on quickly. There is a new provision in the vacancy article that if a vacancy by death occurs in the offices of Township Commissioner, the vacancy shall not become effective until the date of the next meeting of the Board of Commissioners, or 45 days if it hasn't happened more recently. The per meeting compensation rules that were adopted on all of the other municipal codes last session, those changes have been harmonized in this bill because they varied slightly from the 2020 rule. The annual schedule for the completion of audited financial reports that we've also already looked at in some other legislation in the other municipal codes, that language is integrated into this bill. And then just some clarification of language on the maintenance and upkeep of sidewalks to be consistent with current practice. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to field them.
Thank you for your overview. Are there any questions of the members for Mr. Gazy? Okay. Seeing none, I will make the motion that we report the bill as committed, and we'll take a voice vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No opposition. The bill will be reported unanimously to the floor.
Thank you
and
so much.
I would advise the members to keep in mind that with the thickness of the bill, don't wait for the movie version to come out. It's probably not going to happen. So, thank you all for your attendance and participation today. This meeting stands adjourned.